week here as the trading for not just cryptocurrency, but for a number of different risk on assets. There's a lot of volatility in the stock market. But for this avenue we call risk assets, which is the epitome of it is cryptocurrency. We're at a very critical and ominous positioning right now. In the very short term, as we head into this weekend in a couple of days, and the end of the trading week as we know it with the CME, we need, which is the Chicago Merchant Exchange, Mercantile I call it because they're like, anyhow. Um, but it's a critical time in the pattern. Is XRP going to continue to push up here now, break to a point where we can start pushing towards the 200-day and the 4-hour time frame, which we would need to get up near that 232 to 34 zone? And will that allow us to propel ourselves to get over? Actually, we'll have to look at the 200-day and see how it's come down. There's been a couple 4-hour candles since I've been looking at it intently. But we need to see if we can push out of these regions as well. So it's going to be a very critical day to see if we break down or to see if we can continue this little push and see if Bitcoin, in fact, will go to that 101K. That's a very critical zone because that would be a retest of the rising wedge where we broke down out of. And in real time, it sits just over 101K. We'll go over that. We'll go over the XRP analysis. We'll get into XDC as it's winning Wednesdays. I look very forward to buying another set of XDC as it's still under 10 cents. And I look forward to anybody who participates in that. It's a little unfortunate I didn't get a notice on Julie's tablet. I was hoping it would send it because that's how I started opening it, was by the notice. But I did not get a notice. I didn't get one on my phone or my tablet. So I'm going to share this myself because I think it's an incredibly important day. So if you hit that like button, as we're doing a great job this morning, share this so we can try to continue to expand our growing audience. It would be absolutely appreciated. But I think the best thing to do real quick is just to do the intro and then get right into this because we have a lot to discuss today. I think it's going to go by extremely fast, but I think we're going to get some volatility. So if this goes the wrong way, it's gonna happen in that way quickly. Or if we get this momentum builder, it will happen that way as well. But this is gonna be a moment where it's not gonna exactly appease everybody because it's gonna come quickly, and if you blink, when it makes its decision, it's already gonna be too late because we have a very demanding structure right now, and if it goes the opposite way, it's going to cause chaos. And if it breaks out to the top side, it's going to cause a lot of regret for the ones who haven't really been paying attention to it. So there's two very different ways that this can go, but I think it's a very important XRP analysis today. I think it'll be a very important Bitcoin analysis, and it'll be a very important just analysis overall when it comes to the markets. Not just crypto. We will take a look at gold and silver, which if my biggest problem right now is gold and silver. It seemed like it went down and back tested a move as to where crypto. What is that going on with BT or Barrett? I know Barrett has a name change again. It just seems to happen with these companies. Gold.com apparently, but it's up 6.9% today. I was not expecting that off the get-go, to be honest with you. But good morning. 10:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So thank you everybody who's tuning in this morning. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Dan, Marge, My Yard Now, thanks for being in Tom's 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Jay from XJDSA, good evening, or good morning. XRP John, welcome in. Mitch Shoot, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge, along with Mark Caston. Appreciate you both. Tempa, good morning. JDS Aquatic Experience, welcome in, my friend, and good morning. Kirsten Deckler, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So Bad. Greatly appreciate that. Carlson also in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Crypto Cooter, thanks for being a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram. And Tom's Army for 6+ months with the XP Predictor. Just does a unbelievable amount of work for the community. Very selfless. As well as MQT, thank you also for being a very trusted mod here in the Telegram. And for all the tireless effort and work you do. I'm hoping for a healthy little retrace and get back on our way to 238 to 250. I'd be okay with that. That's for sure. That's for sure. But a little retrace. Nothing crazy. Otherwise, it could drastically alter what we're going to look for today. As you know, the Cannabis Podcast, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's Arm for over 6 months with the XP Predictor. He is over with a comfortable margin now of 500 subscribers on YouTube. So his channel is starting to move in the positive direction. That's a big milestone. As he now takes aim for that 1,000 subscriber journey, that's a big threshold. So support him. He does a lot with cannabis, not just legalization that could be coming unified across this country, the rescheduling of the drug, but also the fact that it's a cannabis. It's not, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more things that it's being used for health. Let's just let him tell you. You know, it's his area of expertise. But he does talk about how to use it medicinally, how to break down the actual plant, how to use hemp base and the importance of it, how it was legalized back in the day. There's a whole lot. There's a whole lot of reasons to watch. If you like the trees, you should pay attention. Mosey here, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XRP 589 Moon Badge. What a beautiful soul you are, my friend. Thank you so much. Mark Korf, good morning. Mikey Mike, welcome in. Tanya, welcome in, love, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge, along with Randad. Unbelievable support. That's a long time worth of support. Thank you so much for that. Furby Trades. I love it. It changes everything. Furby Trades. Weren't you just a different... Morning to you, and thanks for being a very trusted mod here in the Telegram. Morning won't be able to stay long, but stop by to say good morning. Well, I'm glad we got to see you, and good morning, friend. JBHK, thanks for being a very trusted mod in here. I really appreciate you. Very long-time supporter and fan, and also helper. CB, welcome in, which is Syrian. Thanks for being a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram. Also in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Garbanzo, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. Florida Attorney, good morning, says, please hit that like button, y'all. Yes, indeed. Thank you for that. Frankie Fresh, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XP Predictor. Hope you and Janine are doing fabulous, having a good start to the morning, and hope your hands, cooperating with you and allowing you to have a little more flexibility each and every day. Also, XRP fam, thank you for being in Tom's Army for 6+ months with the XP Predictor. Devin, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XP 589 Moon Badge, being a very trusted mod in here. One of our biggest proponents that talks about Casper. And we should probably pay more attention to that, to be honest with you. John Bugathorpe, good morning, my friend. Always look forward to seeing you in here as well. So now that we got past the hellos to everybody, something I like to do. Just something I like to do. A lot of questions are we going up? Are we going down? Is this a point of resistance? Are we going to try to attack support? That's a good question. It's a good question. Would a healthy retracement kill us? No. But would a extraordinary retracement destroy us? Yes. So to say we're walking a very fine line here we're walking a very fine line, ladies and gentlemen. And some will disagree. Some will agree. Some will appreciate the ability to identify support resistance within a micro, and also identifying it within the micro of the micro, and also identifying it within the macro of the micro. Yes, there is a micro and a macro, but you have a micro right here. This is your microcosm of what needs to happen for this to be short-term bullish. Right here. Look no further. Need to hold this 213.5. Roughly. So when I say we don't want a big retracement, I don't want a big retracement because I would like to stay over this area. But if we can't just be within the micro of the micro, let's expand it out a little bit and break it into the micro of the micro. Or I guess not in the micro. Yeah, this would be the micro because we were just in the micro of the micro. So now we're in the micro. So this opens it up a little bit. So this isn't even macro micro, but this is just more widened. It gives you more opportunity because you approach it in a different way, and then it gives you slightly different areas of concern, but it doesn't show you the immediate micro support, does it? It just shows you the micro setup between $1.85 right now and $2.39, but it doesn't show you the gate that the micro shows you. The gate of micro gets you between the 188 and the 204, but everything in between 204 and 213 and the ability to break out into that next space. We come down much farther, we're going to invalidate. If you come down too far, this little, what looks like could be a V shape and a sneaky inverse recovery. So that's why you look at this as the micro of the micro, because it gives you all the very short-term opportunities. So even if you don't understand what's going on in the trading sense, if you come in here right now and you watch this every single day, because it's my mission to do this every single day. I try to do it twice a day, an hour at least, plus the shorts. And now I do the hearing impaired, and I added the visual for the visually impaired. I talk through it now, but it doesn't sound like any of my other videos. Maybe I sound like a robot in it, but it's supposed to be for the hearing impaired and visually impaired. Nothing more, nothing less. You're not supposed to really hear the personality of the video. I just want you to hear the information, just like I do in the 60-second TA in the morning. So this is the micro of the micro, if you ever watch. And that's how you identify this strategy. So then you have this short term. So if this short term plays out in the micro of the micro, we're good. But that means we have to hold 213.5 for this scenario to be valid. It could still be valid with the drop to 204, but look at that range. That's another 9-cent drop. So that's different. So now in the micro of the micro, coming out of the micro of the micro, now we're in the micro. It's kind of like Inception. Now what is the immediate attention? Well, we've got the 200-day at $2.24, which can be seen in any kind of circumstance. But now that it's opened it up from $1.85 all the way up to $2.39, now we can see the immediate resistance here outside of that micro formation. I know it's hard to follow, but if you watch every day, you'll understand deeper. Now, real quickly, I have to interject with myself. That looks like a possible reversal candle here, but you see how far it's pulled down so far? It almost looks a little top heavy. I don't know if this is a long leg doji reversal candle, because it is showing evidence that if it pulls down farther and we've got top end, it could be I like to call these the sleeper candles. These are the ones that put you to sleep because you think you're about to have an all-out reversal. So you're like, oh, it's a doji, long leg doji, that's a reversal. But it still gives you a little bit of upward tick here. Now this one, has it pulled down far enough? It goes from 217 to 220, and then from the pull down at 217 down to 240. Speculative, but I think we can all agree that there's more top end. It's more top heavy where this candle is placed. That's an ominous sign there, which could be telling us maybe the bulls do have a little control in this area, because being up here and not farther down or being split in the middle, I know it's reading into it with the candlestick above and just a small body and a bigger wick below than above. But to me, that reeks that maybe we still have a good positioning between the bulls and the bears, because of just that little macro, or just that little minute visual. Does that make sense? And for anybody who's interested, I'm doing something deeper soon, but it's not going to be what I do on YouTube. It's not going to be the part of the Telegram. It's going to be its own entity, but it's for everybody who wants to learn this deeper at a slower pace and in a classroom style setting. And I've been talking about it day by day, but eventually you're going to see more information. But it has nothing to do with YouTube. It has nothing to do with Telegram. And this is just going to be a classroom setting, and there's going to be an opening for people who want to just start from the very beginning, and we can go through this in the most basic sense. Like today, I can't just sit here and do this for an hour and just talk about what this candle could possibly mean. Otherwise, everybody would leave. But for the ones who want to learn deeper, how that can give you a dead giveaway in a candle. Is this a bearish reversal? Are the bulls having any kind of advantage here? And just looking at a simple candlestick, this is something we could delve into so much deeper. So much deeper. Well, in order to get the Telegram address, because of all the spammers, you have to be in Tom's Army, and then it's in the membership section on my YouTube channel. And the link is right there for anybody who's in who's in Tom's army. I used to give it out for free, but just the amount of people that are trying to steal people's info and their crypto, it's just not acceptable. Even now, it's still not acceptable, but at least we have a refined way of doing this. So anyhow, the info you can get out of this candlestick, there's so much we could talk about here from a beginner sense, because a long like doji, this would pull down farther. You would have more of a middle body of this candle, and you would have an equal wick top to bottom. So let's see. And it doesn't have to play out, because if you get a closure, see how it gave us that little ability, but it closed out below and it never could recover. It came up here and got rejected. This we don't know. Can it push back up? Can we get a close and start pushing back up here? That's if we're in a bullish setting, we should. The Telegram link don't work. Interesting. I didn't know that. Because when I clicked on it, it worked. And when people are joining Tom's army, they're clicking on it and it works. If it doesn't work, Gatman, and maybe you were in the Telegram before and you deleted it, if that's the case, you have to re-add me as a friend. There's no other way to be re-added. That's the Telegram rules, not mine. That's how Telegram does things. So that could be a reason why, but that link never expires. So if it's not working for you, that's probably the case. You might have been there before, and then you deleted the group or left the group, and then the only way to get back is to re-add me. That's a safety feature through Telegram. It's stupid. But there's no way for me to turn it off. So it does work. It's the same link. I still use it, but I can share a link. I can do a membership post and share it so everybody can see, but it'll be a members only post. It'll be the exact same link. So maybe we can get to the bottom of it, but I'm going to do this while continuing this talk, because we've been in the micro after being in the micro, but we haven't finished the micro conversation. Interesting, the Gatman. I don't know, honestly. Here, I'm going to share this link, and then you can let me know if it works. And then maybe I'll have to go and change that other one, because if that's the case, I'll go change it. But I know people have been joining through it, so it's weird. So I'm not surprised, though, that it would work for some and not the others. So I'm just going to do a membership post here. So just going to show the link. And it's just going to say Telegram link below. And then obviously, if YouTube doesn't show you it, just go to the members only area, and there'll be for Tom's Army and higher, and it'll be a post. It'll show up. If it pops up on my tablet, I'll let you know. But I don't know if it will. Yeah, see, it didn't even show up on mine. How weak. That's weak sauce. Did it show up on Julie's? Nope. See, that's weak. Weak. I'll just show you what it would look like. So if you go to the membership only post, this is the post. Works for me, but that's the one I just shared. Hopefully it'll work for you and anybody else who is a member. Odele Vadodamas, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Mrs. Stott, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. I really, really appreciate you being here. Says, good morning, everyone. I'm starting at beginning, and we'll catch up. I think that's a good idea. A lot of information. Also, my son was up since like 12 a.m. Still went to school. So I got Julie woke up at 5, so I went to bed from 5:15 to 7. So it was a good night of sleep. I see myself in here, and I'm like, ooh, that guy looks like he needs some sleep. But I'm still cooking in my own mind. So in the micro here, we got out of that. Now we're in the micro, right? So now if we can get on top of the 200-day, would be our biggest concern here at 225 from this perspective, push out to 239, and then get on top of that. That would be our ability to get into the micro. Open, but it tells me it's unavailable. It's a private channel. That is true. It is a private channel, but that's the link to join the private channel. That's interesting that it's not working. I don't understand why. I don't know. That's news to me. I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to Define and see if he can help. I don't think he's in the comment section right now. But anyhow, we gotta get back on track here. Fuck the Telegram right now. No offense to the Telegram, but I'm losing my thought. And at the same time, by talking about other ventures, we lose the attention span of everybody. So, $1.85 up to 215. Right now, we know this back test. Now that we have to redo this, $2.04 would be if we broke down and lost 213.5. That's our objective right now. Hold 213.5. Use this 4-hour candle as not a reversal, but as a steady, strong hold from the bulls, showing dominance over the bears right now with the top end wick or candle body formation, and start cooking here. We got over this. We held the 213.5, which objectively now would bring us up here into the 2-hour time or the 4-hour time frame, 200-day, which we talked about around 225. And then if you can clear that, then you start pushing the micro, which is at 239. Now, assuming you can get out of this area, which you're still caught in a micro hellhole, but now it's the macro micro. And the reason why I call it the macro micro is because if you push past this spot, which can either confirm a breakout into the macro structure of the macro pattern, which would push us up and out well over $3 if we can maintain, or it confirms a micro continuation of the bearish setting, and then it could get a little ugly. So that's why I think we have an awe-inspiring moment in the macro micro view, which is right now. And every chart looks different. In the macro micro, it's still micro setup, but it leads into a macro fundamental flip into a bearish cycle in the micro. Maybe a crypto winner if it were to fall out too much. But the macro point of view, why I call it the macro micro, yes, from the micro, but from a macro perspective, we can evolve this into the next part of this setting, the next part of this pattern evolution. So this would be a micro moment, but a huge play in a macro perspective. So I call this the macro micro view, something I just started doing a few months ago. Started talking about it more in this perspective a few weeks ago, just to try to show some clarity. So in this case, we assume we get through the micro, in the micro, right, where we started, which would, the micro, we have to hold 213.5, just remember. And then we have to get over the 200-day and the 4-hour time frame, which is at $2.25. Then we need to get over the micro resistance, which in general, for anybody who just joined in, gets us to about 239. So we need to get over 240 and hold that. And then we can start talking about this macro, and it's very confusing, I know, but it finally let me in. Thank you, Tom. Yes. Define, thanks for being in here, and a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram. And Tom's on for 6+ months with the XP Predictor along with Swirl View. I got a real Swirl Views comment as well. But I'm good. Thank you for checking it out. But it looks like the Gatman, it worked for him. So crisis averted. So awesome to have you in there, Gatman. Thank you so much. So in the macro micro, you know, the perspective is if we can break up out of these levels now that we've aforementioned, 225, the next big one, and then 239, in my opinion, because we have to get over it. I know you can talk about 229 to 232, but come on. We got to push past some of these mediocre, minute spots. So now 264 would be big objective. You get over that and prove this is a bullish megaphone, you open up the door. You prove it's a bearish megaphone, you break down the floor. You see what I'm saying? So let's be positive here and say that we're not going into a crypto winter, because I would hate to believe that's what's happening. I would like to believe we're building towards something transcending here. What the fuck is that? So I would like to believe that. So from here, and it sets up, I mean, if it were to break down, that's how you get that $1.18. That's how I got that. But I'm not saying it's going to break down. I'm just saying if we got unlucky enough, and then the short move would be around 330 approximately, a little bit higher. So, I mean, this gets you, from a macro perspective, it gets you on the right track again, and it breaks you out of that micro or micro setup. So, I think this is a very, very big opportunity for the, not just us and XRP, but crypto as a whole. A lot of people are just done. They're done with it. I've never seen a more done set of people in crypto, because the last time this happened, And we're at this point. Well, actually, I did. The last time we were this oversold, several years ago, this is exactly what everybody did. Over here, everybody was buying on this big drop. They were convinced that we could never go back below $1 and all this other shit. And it ended up going all the way down here, right? And then when it started to flip bullish, and you could see it even in the MACD, moving average convergence divergence, which is the one on the top where you can see the flip from the red to white to the green now, where I have it right here. You can see, but this is where nobody wanted to buy, which this was the epitome right here. This little setup was the bee's knees. This was an inverse head and shoulders, which we identified very early, was in a rising channel, which is why it had to shake itself out. But that's the point is when it was time to buy, everybody was like, nope, not doing it. It's come down so much. I have no money left. This is the wrong time. It's a pile of shit. It's never going to break $1 again. It's a, blah, blah, blah. Same thing that's happening now. Same thing. The only difference here is in the monthly, you've got red. So it could be now that we're either topping out. It could be that we're still in the phase of this was a push and now this cycle hasn't ended and it's going to be an extended version. Like I said, it's different this time. This is a different cycle for XRP. It's an extended super cycle if it continues. And it's notated by the length of time we've been up in this area. We've never done this before. Usually we get about 3-4 weeks. Last time we got 7 days or 9 days. And then it was over in 21. So at least this is carried on for the better part of a year, over a year. So this could very well be the super cycle. But we don't know yet. That's why this macro micro push right now is so important. Like this is everything. We're either going to find out if we have an extended crypto winter in this next probably 20 to 30 days. We're going to find that all out. More particularly, we're going to find a lot more out on December 9th. So in the weekly perspective, it looks phenomenal. We're so oversold. The last time we were this oversold for XRP, it's been a while, but every time we were this oversold, it was the end of a consolidation phase, and we would try to push up. Sometimes we'd push right back down, but we'd always have a very volatile move. And you can just follow it down here to up here, back down here to up here. So even that little volatility from 45 to 75 is a big move. Back to down here to 52, back up to 75, back down here to 39, back up here to 66. One last time down to 41, out to plus $3. Now back down here as we continue to clear out, all the way down to 78 on this chart, which this must be Binance, because they liquidated the entire flock. Which is why I still think that's a bullish megaphone. Until they break this down and prove me wrong, that is how I'm approaching it. On a risk asset, when it is that oversold in the weekly is where I start to target it, especially when the monthly starts to accompany it. And the monthly is trying to accompany it. It's basically an oversold now for XRP. The last time we were in oversold in a monthly perspective for XRP was back in July of 2024. So... And then before that, the last time we had an extended time and oversold was back in 2022. And, late first quarter into the halfway point of the year. And then it stayed here basically from February all the way to December. And then it stayed in that particular setup and oversold for over a year. So it can happen for long lengths of time. So... understanding this perspective, I know this isn't for everybody because a lot of people are going to look at this and go, you know what, I just want to know if XRP is bullish or bearish, and this is just too much information. And I understand that. But I can promise you, if you can start to let this information seep in, oh my goodness, you're going to be so far ahead of most people's ability that you'll be able to just, the best part of being able to read a chart is you can just recognize the nonsense when people start talking. You hear them say something, you're like, wait a minute. That's not true. But if you don't understand how to read what you see in front of you, it doesn't matter what they say. Like, because some people, it's all about emotion, right? Some people have this chart and say, look, guys, we're breaking out, right? Look at this is the confirmed breakout. Look at my analysis, and I see it all the time on YouTube. But they won't show you this part of the analysis where we're not technically broke out and we're not even above key areas. And then they surely won't show you the next area where you have a lot more work to do to technically break out. Because we can describe this in any way we want. So what I've chose to do is just have every chart. Every chart. And then you guys can make your own educated decision. I'm not a financial advisor, but this is what I perceive happening in the market, and exactly what I say is exactly what I do in my portfolio. And I have good news, a little more good news about KRAKEN, which there's a link in the video description below and our pinned comments of this very live, because it's a tier 1 exchange. There's also a link in the pinned comments of this very live to join Tom's Army if you would like to get the exclusive Telegram, if you'd like to pay it forward. If you want to pay it forward, there's also a link to Venmo and or PayPal, which those don't ever get used, but I do put them up there. I don't know why. If you don't want to do a super chat through YouTube, you can always do that. That's on the links on my YouTube page. But I think the best way to approach this right now is just understand that as long as we hold that 213.5 on XRP, and then we'll move on a little bit, as long as we hold that 213.5, we're golden. And then our objective would be, in the short term, get above 225 by the end of the day and hold it, or by the end of a daily close. So we want to stay over 213.5, but we need to be over 225 to signal the next part of this push up near that 239 level. So that's that. Bitcoin now. We'll talk about Bitcoin for a couple minutes, not very long, but long enough. And then we're going to do XDC after this, and I'm going to do my purchase for my Winning Wednesdays. Is there anybody in the audience who is purchasing XDC on Winning Wednesdays? And the only other thing with KRAKEN is with due diligence and patience, I was able to wait out DAG and get the appropriate pricing. I still haven't got every single one. I'm 19,000 away from my 200,000 I want to hold, but of tokens. But I had to do it over a series of days, waiting for it to come down to the real pricing. Even right now, it's over elevated, so I can't. And I'm not just buying the 19,000 tokens for 6% more, but I can honestly say for the 181,000, I was able to buy it at the exact price of the other exchanges. It's just I had to be very diligent and keep checking it over and over and over, because there's not a lot of volume. There's not a lot of trading going on with it. So you'll understand when there's not a lot of trading, prices, there's a lot of slippage. They're very honest about it up front. It comes up with a warning to tell you what the slippage is, especially if you throw it in the market, just so you can see where most of the orders are at. Dirty Train, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XP Predictor. Say, hey, it didn't give me a notification, but it did say underneath YouTube featured. Oh, cool. At least it says featured. Oh, maybe that's how I don't. Oh, well, that's nice that it says that at least. My Yard now, thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XP Meteor. I love it. XDC with me, excellent. My Yard now says yes. I love it. I also prefer the door and not the Floor Cannabis podcast. Personally, I do. We got to push through this. Bitcoin technically has a little bit of it. See, now this is more of a reversal in the wrong way for Bitcoin. If it wanted to play this out all the way like this, now we could pull up. But we still have, if we can hold 92,547 for Bitcoin and hold these FEGs as a bullish FEG, as we technically all we did was come down to clear out the CME gap on the futures. That's a big deal. And then we came back down and back tested it as support. And this is a big deal, because now if we come back up after so volatility coming through, I mean, we have an inverse pattern set up. We invalidated, at least for now, this what looked like a head and shoulders, which we thought that would happen. We knew if it came down, it was not going to be good. We needed it to hold, because if that would have broke, we would have went to 72 and then possibly 59, which is still on the table. I just feel like if we're coming down there, I still think we should come up to 101 now in real time. It could change as it drags on longer. But this rising wedge, it would seem very ominous not to come up to the rising wedge and retest it before that volatile breakdown. So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Obviously, we could, in theory, come up in the 4-hour time frame and just get rejected here as well, which is, I think that's what would happen first. we'd come up to 95.3, something like this. Get a firm rejection, start to clear out, come back here and prove that this is support on the top, maybe dip in a little bit, and then make our push out, allowing to alleviate a little bit of pressure. Maybe this reverses back down a little bit in the 4-hourly, but it'll allow us to alleviate pressure because we'd come up here at 95.3, probably pull back down about 4K, 3K at the least, allowing us to alleviate a little pressure and then continue the bounce. The other suggestion is we could do something like this and then work our way through, but I think that would be more of a topping formation. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how this plays out. So, but yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about Bitcoin, because that's how XRP is going to get through. Look, 11% of the audience left, because see, it's hard sometimes, because when you try to dissect a lot of information and you try to give it out, it scares some people away, I must admit. I think people are afraid of information. I'm not sure why. Put you in a better perspective of what you need to do and accomplish and achieve. But we're gonna do our Winning Wednesdays right now. So Define said he's in on Winning Wednesdays. That's awesome. Why is there a red line next to my last post? The post is also lighter than everyone's post. Define can answer that, but if you didn't go through and actually read the prompt, did you read the prompt and agree to what it says? Or did you just skip in to start commenting? You're not going to be able to. That could be a reason why. I don't know, though. I don't know. There's many reasons why it could be like that. But mostly, normally 99.9% of the time, was people not agreeing to the prompt. That explains all of the risk, all of the scammers, everything we've come in contact with, everything you need to know, all the different sections, all the expectations. One more big dip with Christmas coming. People will sell. Fear and greed will drop to 6 or 8. Then the rip will come. So people can sell after January to push back taxes to 2027. Interesting. That's interesting, actually. That's not a bad perspective. We could say maybe that's what happened with the historical drop in October. And that's why it's setting up this push for post. Yeah, it's possible. It is possible. Gatman, that is possible. I like your perspective. Thanks for typing that and taking the time to do that. Honestly, it's a good perspective. Kyle Kupiak and Jacoby, welcome in, and thanks for being in Town Center for over 1 year at the I Told You So Bad Cape Cod. Kyle from Massachusetts and Florida now. Welcome in, my friend. Appreciate you so much. Ben Graham, welcome in. Good morning to you, friend. But with XDC, I want to do this Winning Wednesdays. We'll talk about the chart of XDC. I was hoping, and I don't know if it's going to play out this way, that we would come up and we would, let me get rid of this, that this would end up being some kind of inverse pattern, maybe a little bit of a V. But so far, it's rotating down, and if it could be a solid rejection here. It's actually right in the positioning for a rejection. Let's get rid of this. But it is set up with an inverse pattern as well. So until this breaks down, I think we're in an inverse head and shoulders, unless it proves otherwise in this back half of this pattern. So I'm going to continue with my philosophy. If for whatever reason it broke down below 4.6 cents and it proved to me it was going to go to 2.8 area, then I would sell out and then buy it back on the big drop after it came down. But other than that, I have no ambition of selling it right now, just to rebuy it back. So that's the plan. And I'll keep buying it every single week until we get over 10 cents. That's just, well, yeah, I think 10 cents is a good area. But I think I said before, even though I say 10 cents, it's actually within this consolidation. Because once it breaks past this, I think it's 8.5. Back here, it was 10, when it was earlier in the year. But now it's coming down. Once it breaks this top, so once it breaks the resistance over the top, so in real time, once it gets above about 8.6 cents, I'm not buying anymore. So it's not 10 cents. It's once it gets past this pattern resistance. Because then we play all the way out, and I'm not buying it through this play. Anywhere above this, because it's going to back test in a lot of spots. Nowhere above when it gets above here, because I want to see it make this clean break up to the top of the actual longer pattern cycle. But a lot of opportunity there. A lot of opportunity. Buy Capita. For how much money I put into a particular asset, yes, XRP might be worth more because it went up by so much, but I took a lot of the liquidity I have now, and instead of having it in a bunch of tokens, um, I confine my portfolios, a lot of you know. So no more, I don't use no KYC exchanges, all on tier one exchanges. So there's none of that. There's no ability for me to get IOTA or anything like that anymore. It's just not possible. So I went deeper into things like Algo and XDC, and now having the expansion with DAG and SHX and being able to get some stuff I wanted in there that I couldn't before, now being available. So just different change of philosophy, playing it in a safer way and in a way that aligns with what I've wanted to do for the last 5 years. XDC, I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to buy right now on KRAKEN, and I'm just going to do my $250. It's 0.514. It says, so I'm going to go 0.5158. I did this last time just to show that it actually gives you whatever the best price is, not what I put in. $250 would be 4,846. The trading fee would be 50 cents. Buy XDC, and let's see if it goes through. It bought it at, what did I put it in for? I felt like I put it in at 0.05158. It bought it at 0.0514, exactly what it chose the price at on the exchange. Now it's at 05143, and it filled mine at 0.514, which is nice. So as long as there's volatility, if you have KRAKEN Pro, you're not getting ripped off. So that's my weekly purchase of XDC right now. And that brings it up to just over 305,000 tokens. And I'm not talking about that no more. Algorand is very close behind on what I actually put into it money-wise. But yeah, it's not quite there, but it's very close. But anyhow, I appreciate everybody who did that, who bought XDC with me. Appreciate it. The price this cycle for XDC, as I've said, it all depends if it's a true breakout or if we're literally coming to die in this crypto bear market. If that's the case, you could get stopped at 6 cents, but I don't expect that to be the case, obviously. I think if we're talking cycles and we stay within the consolidation that can last for many, many years, one could argue that 13.7 cents could be a cycle topping if we don't break out of this consolidation. It can be argued, and I make that argument myself. But if it's time and we finally break out of here, you would probably end up having a cycle top for this movement somewhere around 27 cents. But I'm targeting 13.7 cents in real time. So people get mad, but we're buying it, on average right now under 5 cents. So if you bought it on average, let's say 4.8 or 4.9 or 5 cents, I mean, that's a big move, even if it's not the cycle you're expecting. But if we get into a full-blown cycle and we end up having a parabolic spike, the target is no less than 27.8 cents with this cup and handle that it's created, the inverse pattern that's created there. I've drawn it out within the inverse head and shoulders. This is actually a bottom here, which is why I put it in both spots. This is the inverse head all the way through. So there was no, misconception. And right here is actually the inverse right arm. And this is the left arm. This is also a cup and handle. I've drawn that out as well. So, well, most of it. I haven't drawn the handle part out exactly. That would go something like, if you wanted to draw this out, I had it drawn out, but it got moved because it's in the weekly. But it's something like that. But yeah, in a standard cycle, if this were to break out of this cup and handle, that inverse head and shoulders you see, but it's a cup and handle as well. The technical target for this is telling us the cycle move should be all the way up to 27.8 cents at minimum. If it reached max potential, this is kind of like the apples to oranges with XRP. XRP had the target, remember, of $3, and wherever it's already hit, it hit it perfectly. But it had if it made it to the max potential between 549 and 638 or whatever it is, somewhere around there. That's exactly what this is. The target it's telling us is 27.8, but in the right circumstance, if everything went right and we actually broke out of this pattern that it's stuck in, it could technically hit 36.2 cents. I still target 13.7 to see if we can get through. But technically, it's telling us 27.8 cents. Some people want to hear a dollar. Some people want to hear. I'm sorry, I can't tell you that. But if we get very hot and it gets adaptable, imagine if we're consolidating between 20 and 27. And then the next move that we go, like this one would be about a 5x move, approaching 6. Imagine the next 6x move from the 20 to 25 cent range. Now you're over a buck. So that's how you want to build these up. That's how you want to build these up, and that's how I want these to build up, personally. I think it's been a spectacular 45 minutes so far. So I hope that helped with XTC. I thank everybody who joined on the weekly buy. Let's see. We talked about DAG before, up 3.3% right now, and I can tell you it's a big difference right now, so don't even try to buy it on KRAKEN. There's a reason I haven't bought that last 19,000 tokens, because the spread's too big. Let's see what the price is right now for DAG. And there's no volume. There's only 19,100 volume push so far in trading volume. So right now, if you try to buy, there's no orders. The steepest order right now. Earlier it was 145 it was telling me I had to do it for. And as you can see, the market right now is calling for 13072. It says right now 13069. That can't be right. Let's see a market order. That would mean it came down by 14% now. Okay, it's showing that at 13.1. I'll put it at 13.129 and see if it fills any of these 19,000. I'm just curious right now. Oops. Let's put it in 15 maybe. I'm just curious if there's anything available, because a lot of times it'll say it, but there won't be anything to sell. Like nothing will fill. And then when you go back to market, it'll be like, oh, this is where it's actually going. So now, I don't think anything filled. Yeah, see? And then when you go to market, it says 13.138, but nothing filled. So it's like, now it's like, okay, let me go to there because it's such a small amount. Let me see if anything fills. I doubt anything will fill even at that price, but I'm not going to go over the top just to pay whatever they want. Yeah, see, nothing fill. Actually, I'm sorry. The last time something did fill, when I did it last time, I didn't even notice. I had 181,000. I have 183,000. So I didn't put that last bit in. So whatever I put the last one in before that, but you see only 2,000 of them filled. And now it brought the price up from 13,099 is what it charged. And now it's at 13,163. But you won't see any movement on the actual exchange. Oh, maybe you did. That's at 13,146. I take that back. I see it in front of me. It actually did move up right now. Okay, well, with that being the case, I'll up it to 13,199 then, just because I see it actually went up. So I take that back, what I said. Try to do 17. Nope, I already had some. Try to do 15. Hey, look at that. It filled up the rest of what I needed at 13172. I'll take it. But you see, you have to be very diligent. That's what I'm saying. Like, be diligent. It's not, some of these, it doesn't happen in 2 seconds. Like, you really have to be diligent. And it sucks, to be honest with you. Oh, never mind. It filled at 13006 on some of it, and 13099 and 13101. So it was filling it. Well, that's a good range because I put it all the way up a little bit higher. But now I have the 200,000, so now I don't have to worry anymore. But what a pain in the ass that was. And it'll probably just fall right through. But it was such a small amount. I wanted to show you guys like what I was talking about. And that's a good way to demonstrate it in real time of what I was talking about. But when I came on live, the pricing it wanted you to buy was 14.4 cents. You see the difference? That's a 13 per. You can't start out down that much just to buy something. So I refused, and it took me days and days to do what I wanted to do. Most of it, though, fortunately, it was filling at 119. But then I woke up and I noticed after the overnight session, it pushed up a few percent, which kind of sucked. But at least it was only 19,000 I had to buy with the small push up. It was a pain in the ass. And now it'll probably fall through it, but now it's non-negotiable. It just sits there, and if it goes to hell, it goes to hell, because it's such a pain in the ass. Absolutely, V-Chain would be a viable one for this cycle. It would. It's so oversold in the weekly and the monthly. I own V-Chain. I like V-Chain. I like it in the IoT. Yeah, there's some inconsistent movement here for sure in the market. If this breaks down from here, I tried to show this in the short term, but I mean, you can actually look at this like this as well, so you can kind of draw it from a farther perspective. I would probably do something like that as well. But I did come from here so you could see it from a shorter perspective. You could say you're in a channel even. It's all about your perspective of how you really want to show this to yourself. Still say as long as you show it with this little kind of descending wedge at the end almost. Which if you think about it is a bullish continuation on this consolidation when it's done. The daily's pushed up. The weekly in DAG is very oversold. The monthly with DAG is another thing that caught my attention. It's extremely oversold, which is why it's below this uptrend. And traditionally, if this is just a overzealous pull down into all-time lows like it has, basically, I mean, it's not all the way into all-time lows, but as it retests this entire structure, generally, I think anything under this uptrend now is a great deal because I assume it's going to get back over it to reestablish the uptrend from the all-time pattern. So I always usually say anything under that is historically good pricing because you've never seen that pricing. So the pricing that you've been able to buy for DAG now, it's never been seen before. So... Or 1-2, not 119. That was SHX on the last part of it when I rebought back some. What was this one? Trying to remember what it was last night. Well, I can backtrack. It was like 1 to 3 a.m. Maybe it was 127. Yeah, that sounds better. 127. Not 117. 127. So I say it doesn't even seem like that would have been right. Yeah. So it was trying to do 1.4 here even. And then all of a sudden, when I checked at 1 to 3 a.m., there was several opportunities when it was the right pricing. And it's such a pain, but if you're not used to like the order books and with volume, you're going to get caught up. And then you're down 14% when you buy. So what happens when it drops 10%? Like, it's a nightmare. But I don't know. That's just some things that I've seen in the market. So that's that with DAG. SHX, another one. I mean, these in the 4-hourlies are all kind of getting a little overbought, but that's on par for course if it's going to have a continuation after a little bit of a retest. Daily time frames up there as well. Weekly's rotating up and oversold. Monthly is oversold. So like these are all in positions where we could get volatile reversals. We just need the right conditioning, and it's at the bottom of support. It back tested the old let's just call it the pivot point at 0.00835, which was a good sign. But we also need a catalyst, and I think a good catalyst here is going to be how we ended quantitative tightening on Monday, December 1st, and we're going into quantitative easing. And we're going to lower rates. I mean, December 9th should be a rate cut. This is all positive for crypto. Little disappointed that NOG ended up taking the up route here because we had an opportunity with oil and the oil miner or the exploration companies to just kind of fall out. But my fear was that it wasn't going to fall out here and we weren't going to get that last opportunity because there's a big W here. Kind of hoping it would have just come right down to $11, but we'll see what happens. I want to hit V-Chain real quick before I leave too. It's already been 54 minutes. I want to keep my voice somewhat in tune. If I can come on tonight, as long as my son's doing good, I have no idea how he's going to be because of the way the night went. Gold's up $15 to 4,220. We've got gold.com, which is formerly Barrett Gold. $31.45, up 5.61%. B2 Gold up 2.14% at $4.53 per share. We've got silver up 1/4 of 1% up at $58.58. Wow. So crazy seeing it at that price. I believe it made a new all-time high today. Oh no, not today. Not today. I don't know actually, to be honest with you. I think it did. It's close. Nope, it did. Tuesday, we were up at 58.94. Yeah, we did. We made a new high today. Barely, but we did make a higher high. Just barely. We made a higher high. Interesting. This is interesting. If we hold this level, I mean, you're talking about going into the mid $60 range. But I will say, if we get rejected here at 58.22, we never came back to 54.47. So that could be a possibility on a rejection here if it comes back down. But if it continues to go volatile, oh boy. Pan America Silver up 1/3 of 1% to $44.99 per share. Crazy seeing how high these prices are now compared to where we were buying. Hecla Mining up 0.2% to $17.55 per share. First Majestic Silver Corp up 0.19% at $15.95 a share. Fortuna Silver Mines down 1.03%. Still trying to get on top of that $10 mark. Sits at $9.63, but still more than doubled where it was at just 6 months ago or 5 months ago. Silver Corp Mining up over $8, now at $8.04, up 10 cents or 1.26% on the day. And Dolly Varden was down about 3% on the open, but it's eaten that back up now. And at $4.67, looking to have a little continuation if this can. Nice W reversal with silver. See if this can continue on in the daily structure. So, but yeah, I'm pretty much talked out. V-Chain up 1/4 of 1% at 1335. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful token. Now, if we go into a crypto winter, it'll be even more beautiful if it breaks down because we're so oversold in the week. I don't remember the last time in the weekly and monthly we were sitting like we are in V-Chain. If I'm being honest, gets us all the way back here in 2022. You have to go back to 22 to get this oversold in the monthly, and the weekly. This is perfect areas to start scooping and scoring, as they say. Scooping and scoring. Yeah, I mean, I like where we're at right now with V-Chain. I liked it better when I was down here, obviously, but we're still within this fundamental rotation. 4-hour time frame in the 200-day right now is still well above us at 1489. Looks like a little bull flag setting up, possibly on a V-shaped recovery. Nice little inverse pattern playing out. John Bugathorpe, thanks for the $10 donation, and also being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So Bad. Tom, you talked about an alt season that would melt faces. If we only get small moves like XC to 13, are we done? Or one more surge by 28? Not trying to put you on the spot, just need a plan. That's what I can't tell you. If we get a proper alt season, it will melt faces. It will, but like I've said before, melting faces to you and melting faces to me, or what I identify with that terminology, is different. Some people are going to hear it and say that's not a big move, but it is a big move. If you were buying in the proper spots, it's a massive move that will. But for us to get into the melt facing stage to where we can actually push these higher targets, we need to have a few things go our way. And regulatory expansion is not in our favor if that keeps happening. That pushes money out of crypto. It does. So we need things to play right. Now, like I said, with quantitative tightening coming to an end and going to quantitative easing as of December 1st, if we get the proper rate cuts, that's definitely going to help. We have a midterm election cycle coming, next year in 26? So that's going to be a big way for them to push this market as well. But, that's if it plays out perfectly. I don't know if it's going to play out perfectly. But XRP going up to $5.49 or $6.38 wouldn't be melt facing from where we are at, even from where we started. But that would be like, okay, could we get something like an algo to go from 14 cents to $1? That's what I want to know. Like, if we can get through this cycle properly, you'd be looking at something like V-Chain being down here at 1.3 cents, not just coming up to 1.6, not just coming up to 2.22, But ultimately coming up to those higher numbers, and like if we came up to 4.9 and 5.5, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we have to call it a day. It would suck because then yeah, we would go into an extended cycle. You're right about that because this pattern's been setting up for a very long time. And for us to just do that would be an all-time failure, but it wouldn't just be VeChain. It would be the crypto market dying. Everybody thinks we're just being born. Actually, we're dying. We're dying. Once you bring in regulations and ETF, that's the dying signal. That's the signal to everybody who was in early that didn't have to deal with all the regulatory bullshit. Because remember, crypto was supposed to be a unit of exchange. You weren't supposed to have to worry about all the bullshit. It wasn't a security. It wasn't all this government regulatory nonsense. So everything that it supposedly stood for and every reason why everybody was telling you on social media to buy it, now they're just saying a bunch of bullshit because they want to stay relevant. I still speak exactly what crypto was supposed to be about. The fact we continuously pull farther and farther away from it and we call for clarity, all that clarity does is destroys this entire space. But yes, I am getting out eventually, but I'm waiting for this grand cycle because some people might not like it if it's a 3 to 5x. It's going to be a world of difference for me if it goes 3 to 5x, and a lot of you. But with the way that the metrics are right now, it doesn't seem to support a just bear cycle for many years. We need that big liquidity grab over the top to support that extended bear run now. And that's what we did in 2021. We had an all-time fake out to the top side so we could have this expanded run in altcoins that still is going on in 2025, almost 26. Believe it. This all has happened because of that extraordinary run in 21. That's what gave us the ability to come down like this for so long. And then you need a couple of anomalies to happen, like VeChain came all the way up here to 7.8 cents for a matter of, what, a week? And within 3 months, it was way back down. And now it gave us the ability to come way back down to where we were all the way back when this cycle bottomed in 22. Then we did it again in 23. Then we did it again in 24. Now we're doing it again in 25. The pattern, though, for VeChain by September of next year is over. So we are coming to an area now where, hey, something's got to happen. That would be nice, Cannabis Podcast. That would be nice. But I'm going to call it a day here. I hope I was able to answer some questions. Hope you guys liked the feedback. I'll hopefully be back tonight, but that is completely on what my son does. Unfortunately, we are taking a little bit of bearishness right now, like we were talking about at the start of this live. But 213.5